These successful armistice negotiations have demonstrated conclusively the ability of the United Nations to mediate a serious conflict and to avert a dangerous threat to the peace.
Since its earliest days, the United Nations has used diplomacy and mediation to prevent war and broker peace between adversaries. UN Secretary-Generals and their envoys have helped to bring dozens of disputes to an end through negotiations. Still, many long-standing conflicts persist, while new hostilities emerge all too frequently. These conflicts claim countless human lives and require costly international efforts to help victims and to rebuild shattered societies. At a time of global economic strain, the international community is calling for greater efforts to stop conflicts early before they spread. The Department of Political Affairs, known as DPA, is rising to this challenge. Today, far-reaching transformations are enabling the UN to make effective use of preventive diplomacy and mediation.
Well, I think the critical issue is that you do have to get in and you have to solve these problems early. If you don't, the cost to the community itself, to the people, to the international community gets very high. It is absolutely clear that you can either spend billions after a war to try to bring the peace and bring them together, or you can spend a few million early on to solve the problem and head them to a path of democratic development.
The Department of Political Affairs works in numerous ways to prevent and resolve conflict through political means. It keeps a watchful eye on political developments across the globe and advises the UN Secretary-General on potential threats to peace. Through frequent briefings to the United Nations Security Council, the department helps the UN's top body for peace and security play a crucial role in responding to crises. Political missions and envoys currently work under DPA supervision on several continents, encouraging dialogue and supporting a peaceful resolution to tensions. Some 2,000 UN staff serve in field operations in the world's most troubled areas and help nations develop their own capacity to prevent conflict.
There are many, many conflicts out there. We seem to be gaining more every day. So we have to be fast, we have to be efficient, and hopefully to be effective.
A specialised mediation support unit has been established within DPA to enhance the skills of mediators and deploy experts quickly to peace talks. As a result, envoys are better able to help parties at the peace table to work through complex issues. Through an expanding presence in the field, the department is increasingly closer to the places where tensions may be brewing. Regional offices in West and Central Africa, as well as in Central Asia, are designed to help neighbouring countries address problems through cooperation rather than conflict.
One of the directions that we have seen DPA take in recent years is to enhance its presence on the ground. That will enhance our own understanding of the dynamics, our capacity to see things coming from a distance.
It has become extremely important and urgent for us to be closer to those situations, to enable us to have a better appreciation of the dynamics, of the complexities, of the cultures.
The quiet contributions of the UN's political work in the field are not always widely known. In recent years, the United Nations Assistance Mission in Iraq has worked under difficult conditions to help the country hold free elections, protect human rights, and deliver services to its people. The mission helped forge consensus over election laws and is now encouraging dialogue and compromise over sensitive boundary issues which divide communities in Iraq.
We'll try basically to bring representatives of all sides around one table and then to help them step by step to come to a kind of agreement that would be sustainable for the future. In the meantime, we also involve ourselves with issues like the security arrangements, because obviously when people start to shoot, they don't talk anymore and you won't get anywhere. And for us, it's just the other way around. Don't shoot, talk, and try to make a deal for the future. It's good for social development, it's good for the world.
Once host to the UN's largest peacekeeping operation, Sierra Leone has benefited from the work of a small political mission named UNIPSL. With less than 100 civilian staff, the mission helped to broker agreements between Sierra Leone's political parties, diffusing a crisis as political tensions brought fears of renewed conflict in 2009.
There was a very clear message given to everybody that the international community has invested heavily into Sierra Leone and that we don't want them to go back to conflict and that there's a certain responsibility we all have. And I think that carried the day in the end.
As a peace-building mission, UNIPSL also brings the UN's political, development and humanitarian aid under one common vision. Similar missions work to build peace and prevent relapse into conflict in Burundi, the Central African Republic and Guinea-Bissau. Elections are often a defining moment in a country's transition from war to peace. The Department of Political Affairs oversees the UN's assistance to democratic elections. More than 100 countries have requested and received assistance over the last 2 decades. This support is being reshaped with a focus on the prevention of conflict. Contested election results can be disastrous to a peace process. DPA works to ensure an inclusive and transparent election, cooperating closely with the UN Development Programme and peacekeeping missions. In countries such as Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Iraq and Nepal, the UN has recently contributed to milestone elections. The UN's assistance ranges from printing ballots to advising national election bodies to conducting high-level diplomacy known as good offices, aimed at encouraging peaceful acceptance of the results.
I think what DPA will continue to do is, as we've always done, provide the technical support to countries to run free, fair, and credible elections. But I think the new emphasis of DPA when it comes to elections will be to put our good offices, the UN's good offices, at the disposal of these countries to ensure that on the political level, elections will lead to peace and stability rather than conflict and war.
The United Nations does not work alone as it tries to prevent and resolve conflict. Partnerships with regional and other organisations such as the African Union, the League of Arab States, and the European Union play an increasingly important role. These ties have proven invaluable in recent years as political crises flared in Kenya, Kyrgyzstan, and West Africa, and have been crucial in the UN's response to the recent political upheavals in the Middle East and North Africa. The African Union is a vital partner for peace and stability in Somalia.
The regional organizations have a much more refined understanding of the context that we're trying to operate in. What are the issues? What are the dynamics? What is the culture? What are really the concerns, the fears, the aspirations of the parties involved in those kinds of conflicts? That is a knowledge that is very helpful to us.
By its very nature, preventive diplomacy is discreet. Its accomplishments are gradual and often go unseen as envoys and mediators work behind the scenes. Yet their persistent efforts are decisive for peace. Investment in this area saves lives and reduces the suffering and destruction caused by conflict.
It's always difficult to prove the value of prevention. But I think more and more a wider group of actors believe that prevention is much better than reaction. It's much cheaper and it's much more effective.
For Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, strengthening the Department of Political Affairs has been a key element in his efforts to move the United Nations from a culture of reaction to a culture of prevention.
As Secretary General of the United Nations, I have made conflict prevention a major priority. There is no better investment for the United Nations than in our ability to stop crises before they escalate into bigger tragedies for people, nations, regions, and the world.